I'm dragging this morning. Stayed up late to, watch the Golden Globes. No, I didn't. Don't worry. Wasn't doing that, John. Wasn't doing that. Wasn't out protesting this weekend. Wasn't up late watching the Golden Globes. Just sat around, watched some football, and saw the chaos unfold, including here in Kansas City over the last 48 hours. Good morning. Happy Monday. As our guy Luke Doris just said from KCTV5, the warm weather is back. Woo! I love it. I'm in for it. It's going to feel like early spring today and tomorrow, and I'll take that. But that could mean more vigilantes. That could mean more protesting going on around Kansas City, and that is really what highlighted this weekend. And the more concerning thing that I saw in the news over the weekend wasn't actually any of the protesting, whether it was at Mill Creek Park or up in St. Joe or anywhere else. The most concerning thing I saw was something that was happening in Kansas City regarding people basically trying to figure out where ICE agents were going to be, alerting communities as to where ICE agents were going to be, and basically viewing themselves as vigilantes. KCTV5 had the story over the weekend, and here's what it sounded like.
Right, Brad and Lauren. I actually met with a parent whose son goes here to Garfield Elementary. He also lives in the area and says that he's worried after what he heard from a fellow parent in their neighborhood watch group. A member of that group on Tuesday morning saw those agents at Kessler Park, that's a block away from the school. That's why this week they've started sitting at crosswalks, watching for any agents before and after school hours. Just down the street at Gladstone, the elementary principal there said a message to parents to be aware about federal agent presence. And for Benjamin, as a father, he's concerned, but he knows the watch group has their eye out for the community.
We're getting together and communicating about threats to our safety, right? And that was the case before this. Like, we communicate about street crime. We communicate about when the trash cans are getting picked up. We're neighbors. And this was just another example of the neighbors keeping each other's safety in mind.
So who do they think ICE exactly is going after here? The goal has always been from day one, not that they've been perfect on this goal, but the goal by and large has been what? To arrest the worst people who have committed crimes in this country while also being here illegally. That's been the goal. And yesterday, you saw the story, ICE officials announced the latest roundup of what it calls the worst criminal offenders in the world, while blasting local officials for upholding policies that have made the Twin Cities a magnet for vicious predators. So this is specific to Minneapolis, but whether it's Minneapolis or it's this watchdog group in the Pendleton Heights area of Kansas City, it's like, guys, do you understand what the purpose is here? Do you understand what the goal is here? And ask yourself why you would want to live amongst some of these people. Not people who are just here illegally, but people who are here illegally who have also committed really violent crimes. And that's what you've got per ICE's latest roundup. Just some of these people and what they've done, all right? I mean, I'm not going to give their names because first off, it doesn't really matter. But you've got this person here. And this is all part of a list that was put out by ICE over the weekend on the recent arrests that they have made. You've got one guy here, a national from overseas, convicted of strong-arm sodomy of a boy, strong-arm sodomy of a girl, as well as another aggravated sex offense, 9 counts of larceny, 4 counts of fraud, and other burglary, drug, and theft offenses. One individual, criminal illegal alien, who has been convicted of sexual assault and sodomy of a girl under the age of 13 and procuring a child for prostitution. How about this? Guy from Mexico, criminal illegal alien, previously removed from the U.S. in 2002, later convicted of homicide, battery, assault, and amphetamine possession. We got one other guy here, a Somalian national, convicted of homicide. We have a criminal illegal alien from Somalia convicted of 2 counts of negligent manslaughter with a vehicle, 2 counts of DUI, larceny, and damage to property. Salvadoran national and illegal immigrant who has been convicted of homicide 3 times. Do you want these people in your neighborhood? If you do, you're better off just committing a crime and joining them in prison. This is not Abuela here, okay? That's not who they're going after. Now, might they stumble upon people who also are illegal, who maybe have not committed some violent crimes while being here? Yes, that is possible, and I understand that some people are more bent out of shape over that. But still, a law was broken to come into the country, was it not? That is undeniable. So now what we have is copycats happening after what took place last week in Minneapolis with Renee Good. You've got people here in Kansas City who are willingly telling the news that, hey, we're doing our part. Don't worry. Our virtue signaling is also very high, but it's even worse than just virtue signaling. I wish they would just put up like an anti-ICE flag in their front yard and that would be it. But instead, they're going on social media, they're walking neighborhoods, and they're supposedly tipping off neighborhood groups on social media as to whether or not ICE is in the area. And that potentially creates the kind of deadly scene we saw last week when you are seeking confrontation or pursuing confrontation or suggesting other people pursue confrontation with law enforcement. That's when potentially stupid prizes are won, John.
Well, they maybe could do a little good and pick up some trash while they're out there and be on the lookout for any other crimes and misdemeanors.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it?
Nice to have a neighborhood watch group all of a sudden.
Yeah, you're right about that. You know, this city's got over 100 homicides a year going on how many years now, right? I mean, we're finally trending down a hair, but it's been the deadliest half decade in Kansas City history. And finally, what neighborhood watch groups are worried about is ICE. I mean, make it make sense. Please, make it make sense. Since 2020, we've had at least 600-700 people killed on the streets of Kansas City. But what's got some of these folks bent out of shape now is what to do as it relates to ICE potentially patrolling the streets, trying to get really bad dudes off the streets. You guys got to get smart on this stuff. But it's all emotional. Let's go to Matt. He's on KCMO on a Monday. What's up, Matt? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, and love the show. Couldn't agree more with you this morning. I just got a couple of questions, and they may be dumb questions, but they've been running through my mind ever since all of this started. One, if we have politicians or states even that are allowing illegal actions, and somebody that you are related to or yourself or you suffer any damage from that, for example, like the California licensing, if you were injured, could you not sue the state for allowing illegal action? I mean, if an illegal alien attacked a family member, could you not sue the administration that's allowing them to break the law? And the other question is, what does it take to be a peaceful protest? Because, you know, at 2 o'clock in the morning, screaming and horns and all that, keeping people awake. I can think of several times when me and my buddies were peaceful protesting, having a good time, and the cops came over and told us to turn it down.
Nice job there, Matt. Well done. You know, I know number two first on the protesting. I will say this. The protests on Mill Creek Park over the weekend, I mean, they were pretty harmless because I think most of these people had to get home for their mid-afternoon naps. So they were not up late at night. You know, it was really a blend of 70 plus and then young single people under 40 is what it looked like. So I didn't see any 2 a.m. protesting, but I like what you did there. Your first question on suing states or suing municipalities. You know, I do not know is the short answer, but I think it's compelling when you have state officials and city officials who are rejecting and bragging about rejecting and basically not enforcing federal law. But here's the thing, you know, sanctuary cities have existed for a long time. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not sitting here as some kind of legal expert, and I know whether or not a sanctuary city has ever been successfully sued. but it's certainly a compelling case based on how ardent these leaders have been in some of these cities about not cooperating with the feds on federal immigration law. So if it hasn't been done, I guarantee you it may end up being done at some point, because you're right. I mean, it's completely out of control. Coming up on KCMO Talk Radio, speaking of out of control, man, see some of that action last night? No, I'm not talking about the football game. Talking about the award show. Yep, it was wild. But I did have a moment of sadness as I was flipping back and forth between the Patriots, Chargers, and the Golden Globes. And I'll explain what that was next here on KCMO. Busy day of football yesterday. The Buffalo Bills hung on there in that first game on the road against the Jaguars. Then you had the Niners also winning on the road. So you had two of the road teams picking up wins yesterday. And then the Patriots beat the Chargers, the only home team to win in yesterday's NFL Wild Card weekend. So a solid day of football. The night game was kind of a bust, but the other two are pretty good, John.
I'm not related to Tom, but you can call me John Petty because my fondest desire occurred when the Eagles got knocked out. I didn't want them repeating.
I was so good. I mean,
Yeah.
John, the whole country outside of Philadelphia, I think, wanted the
Okay.
Eagles to lose.
Maybe I'm not so petty after all.
No, you're not. I mean, I got texts from people across the country who were like, Eagles lose. We hate the Eagles. Everybody was 49ers fans yesterday, okay?
Yeah, okay.
How could you not root for Brock Purdy, by the way? Mr. Irrelevant, 7th-round pick. I mean, the Chiefs have obviously beat them already in a Super Bowl a couple of times, actually. So
Who's number 5, D-Rob? How about that?
Yep. You're right about that. Yep. So it was a good day of football. At night, I know the Golden Globes were on. I actually forgot about them at about mid-afternoon, called up my folks, and they reminded me. So I said, I'll turn it on and flip back and forth and whatnot and check it out. And I was downstairs watching some football. Kate went upstairs. I go upstairs, and she's got the Golden Globes on. And I said, how is it? And she kind of just shrugs. And we both bemoaned the fact that really no one cares about these shows like we did even 15, 20, 25 years ago when there were big events, right? I mean, these were stop what you're doing, see how your movies did, your favorite TV shows did, and everybody would watch. And now you just kind of shrug because, first off, there's 3 reasons I believe that these award shows don't have the juice that they used to. And the main reason is not political. It's not. The number one reason is you just have fragmented audiences. People can watch whatever they want to watch on YouTube, on Hulu, on Paramount Plus, on Amazon. There are so many options. There are not shows that everybody watches anymore. Those days are done. Now, there are popular shows, don't get me wrong, but the days of everybody sitting down on a Thursday night and watching Friends and then talking about it the next morning at the water cooler, that does not happen anymore in American culture. There are very few movies that reach that level as well. So you just have so many options and fragmented audiences that you don't feel like you're watching an award show to see your guy or your gal win because, you know, the odds of that happening, not all that likely. On top of the fact that if your shows don't win, you may have never heard of the other shows. I mean, I watched a little bit last night, and I felt like an idiot because I'd never heard of a lot of these shows that were winning awards or getting nominated. And I'm like, I don't consider myself somebody who's out of touch culturally, but I felt out of touch culturally watching the show last night. And anytime you feel stupid when you're watching or listening to something, you're typically going to check out. Reason number 2, bad winners. The elite voters that have run the Emmys, the Oscars, all these award shows, they don't pick the things that actually are popular with the people. They pick the little niche things that check off certain boxes and make them feel good. That's what they do. And they've been doing that now for the better part of at least 10 years, if not longer. And you're like, okay, what about the movie that everybody watched, right? Like, what about Top Gun a couple of years ago? Oh, well, that's just, that's just to entertain the rubes. That's not real art. It's like, people enjoy it. The movies that people enjoy should be the movies that win awards. The marketplace is never wrong. And then number 3, yes, is the politics. But it's more the politics are more the icing on the cake, right? We always knew that Hollywood represented one side of the political aisle. That's not new news to anybody. But if you needed another reason to be like, I'm done with this, I don't want to watch this, the politics is kind of that final straw that broke the camel's back. Not just because of the politics of Hollywood, but the way they brought it into the award show in such obnoxious manners. And you saw some of this last night.
It'd be great if it was like a Nickelodeon special where you could get half the room cheering and the other half, and you had an even a representation of it all.
Well, when can I slime Mark Ruffalo? That's what I want to know, right? I mean, I would pay a lot of money to put slime on Mark Ruffalo's head. My goodness, this guy, you should have heard him last night on the red carpet for the Golden Globes. Here's what he had to say.
This is for her. This is for the people in the United States who are terrorized and scared today. I know I'm one of them. I love this country, and what I'm seeing here happening is not America. It's not.
Mark, why do you feel that this platform is still useful to spread a message like this?
Listen, I want to pretend like this is, I want to be here to celebrate, and I am here to celebrate, and I'm proud to have a Golden Globe nomination. But also, this is not normal anymore. And so I don't know how I could be quiet. And I'm feeling a little sick, so it's hard to BS right now. So
say a prayer for Mark Ruffalo's cold this morning as you get going, okay? What a total chump. He had a pin on that said, "Be good and ice out," as he arrived at the Beverly Hilton Hotel yesterday in Los Angeles. And I love how Mark Ruffalo said he's scared. I mean, I wish Mark Ruffalo was scared. I wish that Trump was threatening to deport Mark Ruffalo, but he's not. Mark Ruffalo is scared? I mean, do you see some of the people ICE are arresting here? Unless Mark Ruffalo is now an illegal alien who has multiple counts of larceny and, allegations of sodomy against minors and sexual assault convictions, he's going to be just fine. Okay, this was not intended to be about Mark Ruffalo here at all. There's no reason for Mark Ruffalo or anybody to be scared unless you are a lawbreaker. That's it.
Perhaps you hired some individuals to work for you who are, and that's why you're scared.
Maybe that, who knows? Nothing else makes sense, right?
Right.
So why not? Maybe that's the case. But the way that these guys and gals, and there are more examples of that from last night we'll get to throughout the morning, act like, I'm just one of them. No, you're not. No, you're not. Stop. Give it up. It's old. It's tired. It's worn down. Speaking of old, tired, and worn down, there were a couple ideas floated by the president of the United States over the weekend where I'm like, no, don't do it. Next. Like everything else in life, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. There is good for me. There's bad for me. There is ugly for me. There is good, bad, and ugly for Mark and John. And there's good, bad, and ugly for President Trump. That's just the reality. And over the weekend, we had some bad. Not ugly, but bad. Bad economic policy that was proposed by the President of the United States. And he talked about it last night. He's getting a lot of attention for it. Number one on this Monday morning was the president saying on social media that he will no longer allow the American public to be ripped off by credit card companies that are charging interest rates of 20 to 30% and even more when festered unimpeded during sleepy Joe Biden's administration. The president then writes here, affordability, all caps. Effective January 20th, 2026, I, as President of the United States, am calling for a one-year cap on credit card interest rates of 10%. Coincidentally, the January 20th date will coincide with the one-year anniversary of the historic and very successful Trump administration. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. President Donald J. Trump. You cannot make America great again by installing price controls. You cannot make America great again by telling businesses what they can charge for their products or services. Even Mamdani, the new New York City mayor, is blushing over this. It doesn't work. And for those who were upset when Joe Biden was like, I am going to unilaterally do things like wipe out student loan debt and do all these other big government socialism-driven ideas to try to help out the little guy, you should also disagree with this because it's really bad economic policy. The goal that the White House should have right now is try to continue with their mostly positive economic policies that create an economy that make it less necessary for regular people to feel the need to go into credit card debt. That should be the goal. And by the way, the number one thing to do is to stop running trillion-dollar deficits every year that destroys the value of the dollar, that then squeezes the middle class, and then figure out how to create programs that really are just for the poor. The rich are doing fine. Inflation doesn't bother the rich one bit, right? As long as their investments are outpacing inflation, they're fine. It's squeezing out the middle class. That's always what bad economic policy and more so bad monetary policy does. And we're seeing that on display over the last 5-6 years. And, you know, I know that the 2025 deficit, which ran about $1.5 trillion, is not the fault of President Trump. A lot of that money is earmarked, you know, prior to him getting into office. But if there's one thing he could do to bring back the value of the dollar, that's it. It's not about telling credit card companies what they can and can't do when it comes to interest. How do we create a world where less people need to go into credit card debt? That is where the president's head should be on this. Not saying, you know what, I'm going to tell the credit card companies what they can and can't do and how much interest they can and can't charge. Where does that end? And how do you even do that through executive order? You going to have a future president come in on the other side of the aisle and you know, tell car companies how much they can charge for their vehicles? Tell food stores how much they can charge for their groceries? Where does that disaster of an idea end? So no, I'm not going to support this, and I don't think most people who have 2 cents of common sense are going to support this either. Here's what the president said last night, though, on Air Force One.
Well, then they're in violation of the law. Very severe things. No, I want a cap on credit card interest rates because, you know, some of them are 28, almost 30%. And that people don't know they're paying 30%. People out there, you know, they're working and they have no idea that they're paying 30%. No way. We're putting a 1-year cap at 10%, and that's it. They know it. They've really abused the public. The credit card companies have totally abused it. I'm not going to let it happen.
The president says that he is looking out for people who don't know they're paying 30% on their credit cards. So now the government's in charge of basically covering up personal lack of responsibility. I mean, that's kind of what the policy is, right? Oh, people are too dumb to know how much money they're paying on their credit card, so I'm here to save them.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, that sounds like what your buddy Bernie Sanders might do in there. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't need the government to protect me. I mean, you know, physically, of course, that's part of their job, protect the country. But I mean, economically, I don't really need them to protect me. I need them to get out of the way and shrink and stop crushing the dollar every single year by 3, 4, 5% and have a robust middle class. And that's mostly done by them shrinking in size. That is how it's accomplished.
What if you had the credit card companies limit people's purchasing? We're going to cut you off by 10% here.
Well,
we're going to reject some of those.
You know,
we're going to help you help yourself.
Listen,
that would be better, wouldn't it?
It would be better, but you know, it's still, to me, it's still on individuals to make decisions, right. And then it's on credit card companies to decide if they want to loan you more money, right? If they want to take a chance with you and your poor credit score, well, it could cost them. That's why we have credit scores. That's why they exist, to see whether or not you are a person that they should lend a lot of money to. And they have their own rules and regulations and ways that they figure out whether or not, you know, that's something they should be doing. But having a president unilaterally go ahead and decide, you know what, I'm going to tell the companies what they can and basically can't charge. You're opening up Pandora's box. And if you're a Trump voter, be very careful what you wish for. Okay? Because that's one that will be abused big time, bigly, as some may say, when you've got the other folks in power. Now, the other idea that was floated out there over the weekend, the president citing $2,000 tariff rebate checks coming sometimes towards the end of this year. He said that in a New York Times interview. He said the tariff money is so substantial that's coming in, I'll be able to do $2,000 sometimes, I would say towards the end of the year. Okay, there is no such thing as a rebate check when you're running a $1.5 trillion deficit. This is the analogy I made last night on X at Pete Mundo when I put this up. The analogy is your household is running in the red. Let's say you're losing $5,000 a month. You take on a second job, whatever that second job is, Uber, deliveries, whatever. Amazon, it doesn't matter. It's not the point. You're making $2,000 a month now with your second gig. Your household is still losing $3,000 a month. But because you're making $2,000 more a month, you think you can go out there and finance a new vehicle. No, as Dave Ramsey would say, that would be D-U-M-B, dumb. That would be a bad idea. You wouldn't do that. You're still losing money. We may have some more money coming into the coffers of the country. We do because of these tariffs. And you know what? So far, it hasn't really impacted inflation, so I'm okay with that. But when you're running deficits to the tune of $1.5 trillion, cutting those tariff rebate checks and sending them out to people is just going to skyrocket inflation once again, because what's happening? You're basically sending money out of the printer into people's pockets. And we've done that too much over the last several years. It's bad economic policy. If we were running a surplus and you want to do rebate checks, that's great, because then you're giving people back their own money. When you're printing money to cover the debt that you're creating every year in the country, and then you're saying, I'm going to send out tariff rebate checks, no, that's not going to solve anything. See, it's all political. All this is politics. To say, see, my tariffs are working. I'm sending you a check because they're working so well. Yeah, but it's all about the bottom line. That's what it's really about. It's not about just the tariff money. It's about the bottom line for the country. And the country is still in major debt and running massive deficits. So this is not going to help. But it's a political game that's being played here to justify the use of the tariffs. That's all it is. Mike's in Kansas City. Go ahead, Mike. You're on KCMO. Good morning. Happy Monday.
Hi. I do think the credit cards need to be reined in, but, maybe not exactly for what you're talking about. They've got a lot of hidden charges they do in the fine print. One of my kids did a cash advance early part of a month for $10. Cut to the chase. When I finally resolved the situation, it cost me $120 in interest and in penalties on it. They kept redoing the $10 charge every 10 days, and they were charging 39.9% interest on that $10 cash advance.
Sounds like a cheap lesson to teach the kid. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, she used the wrong card. Instead of using my debit card to get the cash advance, she accidentally used the credit card. And it was for school. It wasn't for anything frivolous or trivial. She needed something for school. And the other thing that happened with the credit card company, I sent in the bill. They didn't receive it. 3 months later, I get a letter from the credit card company with my shredded bill. It went through one of their machines and got shredded up. But they still insisted on trying to charge me interest rates on the late payment.
I mean, that's. I don't know if that's a glitch in the system. I don't know what that is, Mike. But that's not justification for having a president try to cap interest rates on credit cards.
That's he doesn't understand the situation. It's the hidden charges that are hurting the everyday guy. I'm well off. I'm not concerned. I don't live paycheck to paycheck. I don't put necessities on a credit card like unfortunately a lot of people do. But for those people that do, they need to rein in this credit cards abuse that occurred under the Biden administration with late charges, advances, things like that. I think he's got his mind's in the right place, but he's doing it for the wrong thing.
Well, who's really good at that? Who's really good? Socialists are really good at having their hearts in the right place and their minds in the totally wrong place.
Yeah, but you know what? A lawyer with a briefcase for a credit card company can steal more than 10,000 bandits with guns. They do these crazy things against the consumers who don't know because if they make it complicated. There are some places where the government does need to get in and intervene in things.
That's fine. That's fine. Yes. Okay, yes, but it's not this. It's not this. It's not their job to be telling credit card companies how much interest to charge. That's not it. They need to do everything in their power to create a robust economic environment that gets people out of credit card debt, that makes their money more valuable every single day, that gets out of the way of the private sector. That's what they need to be doing. That's it. That's their job. So it wasn't Hollywood on the red carpet of the Golden Globes last night carrying the woke torches. Instead, it was actually coming from somewhere else. It was coming from NBA head coaches who said to Hollywood, "We got this. Hold my beer. We'll take it from here, guys. Don't you worry one bit." 7:04, great to have you on 95.7 FM. We will have Andrew Giuliani in studio coming up in a half hour. He is running President Trump's White House task force for the World Cup. Of course, we've got World Cup action coming to Kansas City this summer, so we will see how that's going with Andrew Giuliani in studio in 30 minutes on a Monday morning. Stream it if you're not going to be in the car on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Doc Rivers and Steve Kerr were two prime examples of guys who, to me, prove the point that if you are blinded by your political ideology, you don't believe what your eyes are telling you. You don't. Or you don't even know. Or you didn't even, watch the video. One or the other. But obviously the country is still talking about what happened last week in Minneapolis. This woman who was in Kansas City, lived in Kansas City, Renee Good, ends up moving to Canada after Trump gets elected, then ends up down in Minneapolis. She gets radicalized through her 6-year-old's charter school, ends up basically as a vigilante, and is obviously chasing ICE around Minneapolis, blocking them in traffic, doing the whole thing with her partner, and tragically ends up getting shot and killed last Wednesday. You had protests in Kansas City over the last several days. You had everybody of note who was asked about it having some kind of opinion on it. But when I hear Doc Rivers, NBA head coach, comment on this, I genuinely wonder if, one, his eyes work, and if, two, he's watched the same video the rest of the country and the rest of the world has watched over the last 5 days.
In Minnesota, was a straight-up murder, in my opinion, and it's awful. This lady was probably trying to go home, and she didn't make it home, and that's really sad. So the whole ICE thing it's a travesty. It's clearly, to me, we're attacking brown people, and I just happen to be brown. And I don't think it should just be brown people who are upset at this. I think we all have to be.
I'm only 30 seconds into the clip in Doc Rivers. I got more here, John, from Doc Rivers. He's jammed a lot of stupidity into about 40 seconds there.
He was going home, probably.
Yeah.
This whole ICE thing. I love how people do that as if they've got a grasp on all of it. This whole ICE thing.
Well, yeah, this whole ICE thing, that's a good point. Yeah. First off, to allege that's murder, you could have a major lawsuit on your hands there if you are the ICE agent involved. That's the legal side of this, number one. Then he goes on to say it's about skin color. Well, no, it's not. He says, I'm a brown person. How many American-born black men have been arrested by ICE during this ramp up under this administration? How many? Doc? Bueller? No? Okay. So no, it is nothing to do with you, Doc Rivers, or your skin color, or anybody who shares a skin color with you. It has nothing to do with that. But my gosh, you want to talk about feelings over facts. This is virtue signaling at its finest from the Milwaukee Bucks head coach, Doc Rivers. And this is also just the NBA. lighting its brand on fire. My gosh.
Care what side of this thing you are on politically. What's going on in our country right now is absolutely wrong as far as the race stuff. The politics, I'm not going to get into. The race stuff, I will, and it's just wrong, and we have to do something. But the only thing we can do right now is keep speaking up because it doesn't seem like they care, and that's troublesome. Last thing I'm going to say, because I don't want to stay on this, but I could. I keep thinking about kids, and when I grew up, the president was always the role model, and I think about that and the effect of being a bully, lying. How is that good for our kids? And that worries me for our future.
Okay.
So,
all right, Doc.
I'll stop there.
Yeah, please. I mean, are you sure? You sure you're done, Doc? You sure you want to be done?
Newsflash, Doc Rivers apparently aspired to be Tricky Dick, Richard Nixon. So that's my grandfather's nickname for him back in the day.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, the president was somebody to look up to there, Doc.
You know what? I'm looking and listening to that clip, and then I'm reading the story from some of the recent ICE arrests that have taken place. And for Doc Rivers to make it as simple as it's about brown people, well, no, it's not. You have, and I'm looking at mugshots here, by the way. I'm looking at mugshots of Latino women, Somalian men, East Asian men. I'm looking at a white guy here with a goatee as well. I mean, he doesn't have any of the information correct.
Yeah.
Nothing about this. Now, yes, is it more likely that somebody who is going to be arrested by ICE, who is here in the country illegally, who then also has committed really violent acts of crime while being here, is it possible or more likely that that person has a skin tone that is more similar to Doc Rivers than to myself? Yes, that is true. But Doc Rivers and I have about the same chance of being arrested by ICE, and that is zero. And that's got nothing to do with the color of our skin. That has to do with where we were born and the country that we call home. So making this about race is so irresponsible and also just flat out inaccurate from Doc Rivers. This is so unnecessary and does so much damage to the NBA brand that's already dealing with a lot of problems here, John.
I don't know a lot about that, so I'm not going to talk about it, but I could.
Right.
He's a troubled guy.
Oh, my goodness. So it didn't stop there, though. Of course, Steve Kerr had to say something, right? I mean, just because. Steve, I mean, I think it's in his contract. When you coach in the Bay Area, you got to say some really misguided, to put it politely, ridiculous stuff when there are big political stories breaking. So Steve Kerr had to hit his quota this month, and here he was over the weekend.
I'm glad that the Timberwolves, recognized, her life and the tragic nature of her death, and it's shameful, really, that in our country we can have law enforcement officers who commit murder and seemingly get away with it. It's shameful that the government can come out and lie about what happened when there's video and witnesses who have all come out and disputed what the government is saying. So very demoralizing, devastating to lose anyone's life, especially in that matter. So it's terribly sad for her family and for her and for that city. And I'm glad the Timberwolves came out and expressed that sadness.
That was Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr over the weekend talking about Renee Good. And, Steve Kerr acts like there's not video footage of this that the whole world has seen, right? When he says there, well, we've got witnesses who have disputed what the government has said. Steve, the whole world's seen the video, buddy. What are you looking at?
If this were Jeopardy, I'd say, who is the north end of a southbound horse?
Steve Kerr. Yes, he is. He is, man. This is a tragedy with Renee Good. As we've said since last Thursday, it is also an avoidable tragedy involving Renee Good. And for Steve Kerr and Doc Rivers to get out there and make the statements that they're making is so irresponsible. And more importantly, you're allowed to be irresponsible. I'll leave that up to their employers, whether or not they want that to be a defining quality of their head coach. But it's just factually inaccurate. There was a new video that dropped on Friday afternoon from Alpha News up in Minnesota. And if you haven't seen it, it's up on my X page at Pete Mundo. And it gives you an even better look at what happened in the moments right before the ICE officer shot through the windshield and killed Renee Good. And you get a firsthand look from the body camera footage as to what this officer was dealing with and how the vehicle smashes into him. Renee Good's partner yells at her to drive the vehicle right with the cop standing in front of them. And as he's getting hit is basically when shots are fired. If Steve Kerr watches that video and comes to the conclusion he apparently has come to, then I have no idea how this guy was draining key three-pointers for the Chicago Bulls during their historic run in the 1990s, because he is blinder than Stevie Wonder. I don't know how he would have ever done that. And as someone who grew up a fan of the Chicago Bulls in the 1990s and loved some of those big shots from Steve Kerr when the NBA was much more mainstream, I'm trying to figure out how he ever did that. If he's watching the same videos I'm watching and you're watching and coming to that conclusion. Well, I got to give Mark some props here on a Monday morning. You know, on Friday at 8:45, we do a buy, sell, hold segment. And typically the last part of buy, sell, hold is some kind of cockamamie parlay that Mark Van Sickle throws together with our friends at FanDuel to try to win you some money over the weekend. And that means that all the things that Mark lists out have to happen. It's not like if he gives you 6 things, 4 have to happen, 5 have to happen. All 6 things have to happen for you to win the money. So Mark gave us one thing in every playoff game this weekend, and I said I was selling it. I said there's no way all these things are going to happen together, and you're going to win this big pile of cash. Well, Mark is 5 for 5 so far. We've had 5 playoff games, and Mark has hit every one. There is one remaining thing that has to happen tonight for Mark to perfect his parlay as we get set for the final NFL wildcard game weekend, and that is the Steelers hosting the Texans. Mark, what needs to happen tonight for you, my man?
I just need Kenneth Gainwell, the Steelers running back, to get 25 yards receiving or more.
You feel good about that?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. He was their leading receiver against the Ravens in Week 18. So he's the check down master. Aaron Rodgers can't fling it down the field like he used to, so he does a lot of these dump-off passes now. So that's why I picked him in the first place, and I'm feeling good about it. I could cash out and get $40 now, but I think I want to let it ride.
Let it ride. Let it ride. You can't give up now, man. You got to let that baby ride.
I know. And I believe, I'm going to look at it right now live as we're on there, but I think he's done this in 7 of their last 8 games.
Okay.
So he's been doing this consistently, so he'd really have to mess up not to get it tonight.
So you would turn your little $5 bet into, what, $68 or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. You got to let it ride.
I think so.
All right.
I also did a teams parlay this weekend. I didn't do it on the air, but I have all those right now. I just need the Texans to win tonight.
I like you on that one. I'm going to ride you on that one, too. Right. I'll take the Texans. Okay. And that's straight up or that's against the spread?
That one's straight up.
Okay. Good for you, man. Good for you. Big weekend for Mark. So now you can give all your winnings to Johnson County, Kansas, because they just keep taking more of your money. So I saw this story over the weekend. The Ernie Miller Nature Center in Olathe is getting a $3.7 million makeover. The last time the building received any major upgrades was back in 2004. Now, I don't mind these nice little projects that are being done. I really don't. We've taken the kids there. Nice spot, nice location, been 20 years. Okay, that's fine. But when this stuff gets reported by local media, it's always done under this, like, I think, completely unfair prism of, hey, look at your tax dollars at work for you. Look at what the county's doing for you. Your tax dollars working hard for Johnson County and the facelift for Ernie Miller Nature Center in Olathe. You like the Ernie Miller Nature Center there, Mark? You ever taken the girls out there?
I've been there, but it has been a while.
Okay.
I will say.
Well, you can wait till it's revamped here in a couple of years.
Yeah.
All right? So just to give you some perspective on this is a $3.7 million makeover. The Johnson County, Kansas budget was about $1.25 billion back in 2021. And their 2026 budget is $1.9 billion.
And they want my money?
Yes. Yeah, don't worry, Mark. They're gonna clean up with all your winnings there on FanDuel. They're gonna have a field day. They have increased their budget to the tune of $650 million over the last 5 years. It's about a 50% increase in the budget of the county. And, you know, the way that these local TV stations like Fox 4 report this stuff, I mean, it's straight propaganda is what it is. They get quotes from the Parks and Rec department there in Johnson County. The multi-million-dollar project's being paid for through their capital improvement program. Where do they get the money for that? Yeah, it's getting paid for by you, the taxpayer, okay? And they ballooned the budget 50% in the last half decade at unsustainable rates. And congrats, here's the $4 million facelift out of the $650 million increase the last half decade for the Ernie Miller Nature Center. Thanks. Yeah, big thanks. Really appreciate that. I just want to, make sure that we are at least talking about this fairly and honestly.